Hello everybody, my name is Mario, your local wannabe filmmaker, movie watcher, and pizza maker. You ever watch a movie and think to yourself, damn, that's pretty good? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Moonlight was that movie for me. I still remember when I went to go see this movie a couple years back. Nobody went with me. It's kind of hard to convince your friends who aren't as big a film fan to see an indie movie like this. Nevertheless, let's start this video and see the glorious feat that was accomplished by Barry Jenkins. Now, if you're anything like me, broke, then you can't really go to all these high-tier film festivals and see the high-quality movies when they debut. The way I find about those great indie movies that will appear at the award show goes a little something like this. Huh, cool. I don't know what exactly made me so interested in this movie. Maybe it was the promotional material, the fact that I attended the same university for a brief period of time as Barry Jenkins, the plot synopsis. I don't really know. But I knew I wanted to see this movie the minute I could get my hands on it, even if it meant driving to my sketchiest movie theater in my area half an hour away by myself. Was it worth it? Hell yes. Once those credits started rolling, I knew I witnessed something special. But I'd be lying if I said I completely understood it in that one screening. Yes, I knew what the story was communicating with me, as well as the themes and all that jazz, but I couldn't appreciate it for the masterwork of filmmaking that it was. So there I am, waiting a few months, and bam, it's out on digital HD and Blu-ray, and my time to shine has come. I've watched this movie a couple times, one of those times including right before the making of this video, so I could have full knowledge of the movie. And if by the end of this video you aren't completely satisfied with my look at this movie, there are a million other analyzed videos about Moonlight that are probably better than this one, so yeah, there you go. Moonlight came to fruition as an adaptation of a play called Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue. Jenkins had already wanted to create a personal film, and once he was introduced to this play, well, the rest was history. It was made on a budget of $4 million and ended up grossing around $65 million, so definitely a moderate success commercially. But what about critically? Who am I kidding? You all know the beast of a movie that this was. It was so highly praised and loved that it ended up winning 3 Oscars, including Best Picture and Adapted Screenplay. But enough history and backstory of the movie, let's just get right into the nitty-gritty. The actual film. The story of Moonlight follows a young boy named Chiron in 3 different parts of his life. In the most general sense, this movie is about a boy growing up in a rough area in Miami who struggles to find out who he is as a person. We see Chiron age from when he's a young kid, an adolescent teen, and a huge beefy muscular adult who I would never want to dare mess with because I enjoy living on this earth. I don't know about you. Now, not all of the 3 acts of the movie are as plain and simple as I just made it out to be. Each act has its own distinct small story that makes Chiron go into the person he is at the end of the movie. Our first encounter with Chiron is while he's being chased by some kids and being called names. An onlooker sees this and he goes to Chiron's rescue. This character is named Juan. He ends up being Chiron's father figure in the movie since he doesn't have one. Juan takes him home where Chiron also meets Teresa, Juan's girlfriend. They'll both end up being his real parents because, well, Chiron's mom isn't exactly what you'd call good. Chiron does end up making one friend while he's a young boy, and his name is Kevin. This relationship starts when a group of kids are playing some makeshift game involving a ball. What exactly they're playing is way beyond me, I couldn't tell you. The ball seems to be passed to Chiron and he doesn't want anything to do with it. They start to circle around him until Kevin zooms right by and takes the ball, getting the crowd of kids to follow him instead of circling around Chiron, which was obviously making him uncomfortable. Huh. How nice of him. Surely Kevin and Chiron will remain friends throughout the entire movie without any issues at all. Let's just move on. When we're first introduced to Chiron's mom, she seems like a reasonably decent person. I mean, sure, she just left her kid out all night and didn't really try to look out for him, but she took away his TV privileges and told him to read, so she kind of means well. Well, that is until we see that she's addicted to drugs and has a constant bad influence to Chiron and always yells at him. Shit, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but clearly that was no good. The first act of the movie basically sets up the characters so they can grow in the second act. Chiron is a shy and quiet kid. He doesn't talk much, even when spoken directly to. Juan and Teresa are good people, although Juan does sell drugs, which is something to remember for later in the movie. Paul is a drug addict who we can assume is not going to be any good to Chiron. I'm not trying to judge, but I'm just using my context clues, if you will. And Kevin is a good friend to Chiron, and he's going to look out for him. And since the general story is about growth, we get to see who and what impacts the characters throughout the film. 40 minutes later, and the start of Act 2 begins, and Chiron is now a teenager in what I think is middle school, but possibly high school. To my knowledge, they never actually specify, so let's just say middle school. He's still shy and quiet, doesn't say much, but he starts to really understand that he might be gay and not like everybody else, which unfortunately is not good since the area where he grows up in is not the best. The people around him will definitely give him a rough time. Hell, the first scene in the act is a boy named Terrell making fun of Chiron in front of the entire class. Paula is now deep into drugs, going as far as to yelling at Chiron for money to buy drugs. As much as Paula is a crazy addict, she's not an idiot. She knows Teresa gives him money when he goes off to see her. Speaking of Teresa, she's still the same loving woman to Chiron and lets him sleep over whenever his mom has people over in their home. And the best way to describe Kevin, he's just a typical everyday middle schooler. If you've been to middle school, you know what I'm talking about. This act mainly revolves around Chiron understanding who he is as a person rather than him questioning it in the previous act. Unfortunately, he still gets picked on, as I mentioned before, and actually it's even worse here since the kids are all older and more shitty than before. They actually fight Chiron and make fun of his mom and Teresa, and frankly, I hate them with a fiery passion, so hats off to you, Barry Jacobs. You did a wonderful job directing these irritable teenagers. The most pivotal part in this phase of Chiron's life comes through his connection with Kevin. They both meet at the beach one night where Juan taught Chiron how to swim and they get intimate with each other. It gave closure to Chiron since he always wondered if he was gay or not, and now he finally knows that he is. Also, remember when I was talking so highly about Kevin, saying that they'll be friends for the entire movie? Well, peer pressure is definitely a bitch, but finding your best friend the day after you both shared an intimate moment, yeah, that's just cruel. The bullies that all made fun of Chiron end up ganging up on him once Kevin knocks him down. This sets off a fuse in Chiron, and as the camera follows him all the way from outside of the school to inside of the classroom where Terrell is, you know what's about to go down. Once Chiron grabs that chair, I remember my eyes opening up real wide and thinking, no way. Down goes Terrell. Now, I want to make this clear, I'm not for violence at all, at teenagers and anything. I'm a peacemaker, ladies and gentlemen, but man, did this feel so good to see after they kept making fun of and hurting Chiron. The cops take him away and the act ends with him and Kevin locking eyes as he's thrown into a cop car. Another 40 minutes later, and now we're in the third act where Chiron is downright unrecognizable in terms of appearance. Here we get closure on all of the characters as the movie is coming to an end. The most we hear from Teresa is that she's doing pretty well, which is pretty much as she was doing this entire time, so no shocker there. Paula went into a rehab center, so at the very least, she did take some action to improve herself, and all that's left is Kevin and Chiron. Let's start with Kevin first. Well, he's a cook at a diner and he has a kid with an ex-girlfriend. So he's not doing fantastic by any means, but hell, he's happy and that's all that matters, isn't it, folks? And Chiron, well, let's just say he took a lot of inspiration from Juan. He's now selling drugs in Atlanta and, well, you know what? That's pretty much it. I mean, physically, this dude is completely different, but in terms of who he is on the inside and what he's actually doing with his life, yeah, just drugs. As I said before, this film is coming to an end, so we are primarily just shown closure between the characters. Chiron goes to see his mom, who calls him all the time to visit him, and she tells him she's sorry for everything, and that she loves him even if he doesn't love her. It's a very powerful scene, and the fact that I feel remorse for her, even after everything she did in the movie, that's a true testament to the acting and the directing being showcased. And the way Chiron reacts when his mom apologizes lets us know that he does accept her apology and truly believes she's sorry for the way she acted practically all his life. But the biggest part of this act without a doubt is when Chiron and Kevin reunite after their last interaction. Kevin calls Chiron one night to see how he's doing and apologizes for what went down when they were kids. They don't talk for long, but Kevin does let Chiron know that whenever he's in town again to hit him up at the diner. With that being said, Chiron does drive up to the diner not long after that phone call, which keep in mind is still in Miami and Chiron is in Atlanta. That's about a 9-hour drive. Insanity. They talk for a bit, catch up on each other's lives. Kevin isn't too happy about the idea of Chiron selling drugs because it's not him. Chiron gets upset when he realizes that Kevin has a kid because deep down he wishes they could have been something together, which makes him question why Kevin ever even invited him there. Chiron always thought this invitation was a chance for them to be together, but it was really just for two friends to see each other again. Kevin plays a song that reminded him of Chiron, which was the reason for calling him here in the first place, and that song definitely helps Chiron understand the entire situation. You can see it right on his face. In the end, Chiron drives Kevin home and he finally opens up to him saying he's never been with anyone since that night on the beach. The film ends with Kevin comforting Chiron and we cut to black when we see a short clip of Chiron as a young boy on that same beach looking back at us. The story of Moonlight isn't anything completely different, but its execution is what matters. The story revolves around Chiron and every character in his life makes an impact on him as he grows up. He gets sympathy from Teresa, Juan he practically becomes, Kevin makes him learn about his sexuality, and his mom made him accepting of all types of people no matter how bad they are to him. Well, maybe not all types. The characters themselves weren't obnoxious or annoying, and even the ones that I couldn't stand was due to the incredible acting and directing being showcased. Which, speaking of acting, all across the board, these are some high-tier performances. My personal favorite being Mahershala Ali's, and he was only in the movie for about 35 minutes. There were no weak links in the cast, and that's pretty impressive considering there are some child performances in the movie. The pacing's great, I never felt bored, and every scene kept moving the story forward. Now, what really grinds my gears is when people claim this story was just made to win an Oscar. Well, as I mentioned before, this story was written a couple years ago as a play, so I doubt the plan to win an Oscar was ever there. But okay, maybe those same people are saying Barry Jenkins went out of his way to adapt it just to win an Oscar. For a moment, let's just say this is true, alright? He would have still needed to make one of the best pictures of the year, which is no easy task. Hell, it's hard to make a good movie, let alone one of the best. There's still mastery of the craft being showcased, so to say this is just an Oscar bait movie, that's just straight up insulting to the whole cast and crew. Alright, small rant over. To me, a story to be great, it needs to be engaging and keep me wanting to see more, and Moonlight did just that. It was a tight, well-written screenplay, and I loved it from beginning to end. Visually, Jenkins shot this primarily on a longer lens with lots of scenes being shot with shallow depth of field, which makes it look rather nice. Now, personally, I love when movies use a wider angle lens to the point of distortion like Alejandro Iñárritu's films, but here I think the decision to shoot on a longer lens was a good one. It was a story about close relationships with characters, so to have them isolated from the background with the use of these lenses, it was a nice touch. The camera was usually either locked down on a tripod or a steady cam, not a lot of handheld going on here. And the colors were beautiful to look at. All in all, cinematography gets a big ol' thumbs up. Now, I'm no audio junkie, frankly, it's what I'm least competent in, so bear with me while I try to sound like I know what I'm talking about. Everything felt well mixed together. There wasn't a time where I couldn't understand their voices or the background sound effects felt jarring or anything like that. It all felt well level and balanced. Now, in terms of the score, oh my god, it made my ears melt. It was absolutely stunning. I've had it playing while writing the script and making the video, and it just gets better on repeat. You guys have to do yourselves a favor and look up the soundtrack on YouTube. You'll thank me one day. All in all, this movie is really damn good. It's not just a movie us filmmakers and film fans can enjoy and study and dissect every little moving part, but it's also a good movie for the general public, I think. I think everybody can get enjoyment out of watching this movie since the story and characters are so captivating. I could definitely nitpick the smallest details in this movie and every small little thing that I might have a slight issue with, but honestly, they are so minute that even mentioning them, it's a waste of my breath and time. There's no point in even talking about it. If you haven't figured it out already, you definitely need to add this to your watch list if you haven't already. Please check this movie out. You will not regret your time spent with this movie. I can assure you that. Well, that was definitely a video. If you're a first-time viewer of mine, welcome. This will be the main type of videos that I make on this channel. We'll take a look at a movie, its visuals, plot, directing, acting, audio, all of that filmmaking goodness, and see if it works or not. I guess you could call these reviews, but I don't know if I'd really call it that. I don't know, whatever term you want to call it, that's what we'll be doing here. With all of that being said and done, I hope you guys have a good day, good afternoon, good night, and I hope to see you guys again sometime.